Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Excited to have Marketa Huzel joining us here today, our Heart Center Transformation Coach. Excited to let you know she's back here live today on the show, and we're going to talk a lot today, as we always do. Today in particular, maybe a little bit about change and why that's so difficult for people. But let me first have Marketa say hello and introduce herself to start. Good afternoon or good morning or good evening, depending on where you're listening from. How are you?
Exactly. Thank you. Good afternoon to me today, I guess. But hello to everybody around, all the listeners. I'm really appreciative of the conversations you're having, and hopefully we can help others transform and achieve their goals. I mean, that's what I do. So I help high achievers to transform their life and gain the clarity they need so they can choose their path and do what they need to do that makes them happy, at peace, and fulfilled, so they are not stressed about, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being back here. And we're excited you're back to talk more about this goal of helping people understand, clarify, and really live your life to the fullest. And I know today in particular, we're going to start off by talking about change. So listen up. Change. What is change? And why is it so difficult for so many people? Guilty.
Are you really? Okay, well, let's talk about the change. It is difficult because there are so many factors that we have to take in consideration. One is we are so distracted, right? There's so many things that we want to do. There's so many things that we want to look at. We sometimes feel like life is too short to try all these things, but also sometimes we're chasing the wrong goals. And so then we think, well, we need to do this. And then we realize, no, it's something else. And then something else pops up. So in the first place, I would say, gaining the clarity of what you really want. Why do you want to change? Or what is the goal? I don't want to say chasing, but kind of, right? What are you after?
Yeah.
And
what are we going after? Yeah.
Right.
What are we aspiring to have, aspiring to do? I know we're looking for different words,
Exactly.
but go ahead.
Yes. And so, having the clarity is the first step. Knowing, okay, what do I want? Now, after I figure out what do I want, the important question after that will be, why do I want it? Right? Because the why behind the what is so important, maybe even more so, because you don't want to climb the ladder that is against the wrong building. So knowing why you want something is really important. And I often do exercise with my clients about, if I ask them, why do you want this, is asking them like 7 whys back to really figure out what is the real cause of what you want. Because oftentimes people just think, superficial, I want this because something, but it's not deep enough. It's not really the real reason why people want what they think they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so understanding themselves very deeply, what is the cause of wanting, it's going to be a very different approach to what they want to achieve, which we get to the second kind of step of, well, if you really understand why you want a particular goal, then the transformation or the change is not going to get as difficult because you will really have the real motivator, because often people are not motivated enough to actually make a change, right? There's so many people that will say when I talk to them, well, I'm in pain because I don't have this, or I want, I want the career, or I want the particular job, or I want this particular, relationship, or whatever that is. But really, why do they want it is a very, very different reason. And when they realize what it is that makes them happy and fulfilled and what the real reason is, it's way easier to get there because the pain is often not big enough. And that's why it's so difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's not, they're not hitting, they're oftentimes not hitting the rock bottom to actually feel the urgency to change. And they get accustomed to feeling the pain that it's actually not as bad as they think that it is, because they just are used to it now, right? At the beginning, it may have been bad, but then they get accustomed to it, and it's like, this is our new normal, and then fine, okay? So they don't want to create more pain for themselves by going through this change process that could be painful, but they don't realize that the reward at the end of the process is way better than the status quo that is uncomfortable, painful, but it's not as bad, right? So that's another part why change is so difficult. The other one is, if you or somebody else decides to have the need of a change, they say, okay, fine, I want to change. So now they decide to look for different options, and they say, well, how can I do this? And what do I need to learn to change? And they collect lots of information about it. They start doing research, maybe talking to some people, reading some self-help books, right? Starting doing research about all these things they may be in need of change to make them change. But now they got trapped with this knowledge collection, because there's knowledge everywhere. I mean, even let's be honest, like even this podcast, right? That's a source of knowledge and information. And now they start collecting, but they're not executing. They're collecting knowledge, but they're not taking the steps they actually need to take in order for them to change. Right?
Wow. Yes. And if you are just listening and tuning in, we're talking about change. And of course, how and why it is so difficult. And don't feel down. It is the truth. Everyone's going to go through this. And Marketa here is joining us, giving us advice on this. And we're going to learn more about maybe some of the things that are holding us back. I'm sure there are commonalities in all of us. What are some of the fears that maybe people are struggling with most? I guarantee we're going to have some great conversation about this, because I think a lot of fears are probably similar for most people, and what's holding us back. Wouldn't you agree?
True, yes. People are afraid of many things, but the most common ones, I would say, is fear of judgment, fear of rejection, and fear of approval or not being good enough. Those are the basic ones that, whether we want or not to admit that, we all have them since they're born. Like, look at little babies, right? When they're born, when they cry, something's missing, or maybe the one that they feel like they're not going to be cared for, right? That's the basic human fear that we have. So if you can't take care of the baby, it's going to get rejected, right? And there's the first basic fear. Now we move several decades forward in life, and we realize there's still the basic human fears are the same. They haven't changed. But now, because we lived through experiences, and that doesn't mean that we were rejected as babies, but we have faced rejection. We didn't have friends we wanted to have, or we didn't have partners we wanted to have, or jobs we didn't get that we applied for. And so there's rejection, and all these fears are kind of building up. And then our brain is making connections that may or may not be true, because it's all interpretations of situations that we went through in the past, right? That's how we create our belief and value systems that we talked about in the last episode or two.
Yes, we did.
So we kind of loop back that into that, like how important it is, because it just comes from a basic fear and how we interact in the world, right? And what it does to us. So then if we have these basic fears, then we say, well, maybe I don't want to pursue this change because I'm fear of what will people say. Now I won't be the same person as they know me. And what will I do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow. Enlightening. Marketa Huzel joining us here, our Heart Center transformational coach, and excited that you have passion and excitement for helping so many people get back on track and to really start achieving their goals and to help with these fears, help with the struggles. It's part of your job, which I know you adore and you love. Can I ask you, how are you, helping people in a sense create and, at the same time, I mean, there's accountability, but sustain that energy to really do it all, right? Because the other thing is everyone's so
Yeah.
busy all the time, but we have plenty more time to talk. But it's so true. Yeah.
Yes.
Insight on this too,
It
please.
is. It is. Yeah. Yeah, it is true. I mean, I always tell people when they say, well, you will get homework when you work with me. And it's like, well, I'm already busy. Say, yeah, I know. That's okay. I'll teach you how to relax too, because we all need that. And obviously, I learned it the hard way too, although I'm a high energy person to begin with. So I think I've got good wiring to start with, right? The good base. But also, I realize the energy is limited and we all have limited energy, and some naturally have a little bit more than others. But even through the change itself takes energy. And we have to understand how to create the energy we need for ourselves. And obviously, those of us who want to give it to others as well, right? We need to generate a little bit more to help and support others that we can help. So the first one I always say, and I always ask my clients, how's your sleep? And there is so much to dive into in terms of sleep, and there's a science behind sleep, and there are all this basic advice people hear everywhere, which is 100% true, right? And you need to understand what you need and what the standards are and what your need is. Everybody is different, but first is your sleep. Then I always say, how do you eat? Because food is extremely important. And maybe people think, well, it's unrelated. We're talking about mindset coaching, and we talk about sleep and food. Like, what's that? Like, yeah, because it's whatever you put inside, that's what the body has to work with, and then it produces energy or depletes the energy. So you have to focus on food too. It's part of the process. And then basic things like exercise. Yeah, I don't want you to do something you don't like, but also realizing that movement is part of your energy, and energy really is it's an emotion, it's movement, right? It's all that. It's connected, kind of behind the scenes. And then we look about the emotions, how we work with them, because they make us feel certain ways, and then drive their energy up or down, right? It's the movement, it's the feelings, all that is connected. And when we talk about how we get the energy, I also recommend and teach people how to meditate. We talk and I teach them about self-hypnosis and some other techniques that, some basics of breath work and all that stuff that is all connected to getting the energy balance in the body, right? And I think I've got about 13 or 15 different points of how to manage your energy, and that's a whole chapter on how to do that. But the point is, energy is extremely important, and we need to know how to work with it. How much do we have? How much do we need? And through the transformation, it's not adding up work. It's really rebalancing and gaining as much as we can for the transformation and the time it takes.
Thank you. By the way, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. And just so people out there are wondering, where are you based out of specifically?
Well, I'm based in Canada, in the province of Saskatchewan, so in the central Canada, kind of. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I know you can work with people all over. I love this modality of Zoom, right? How things have changed. It's pretty fascinating. And speaking of change, which I know is basically the topic of today, what would you, give us an example of just, one thing or two things that, has worked and you've implemented with other past clients about helping them keep this energy going?
It's the understanding of who they are and what they really want. And that's the whole work actually that we do, it's not to change one thing. It's about changing yourself on the deep subconscious level, because changing just the behaviors we do, this is kind of at the top of the pyramid that people think is necessary to do, but they don't understand if they're not living in this, coaching world, is that you need to change from the inside.
Yeah.
Deeply on the inside,
Yeah.
deeply in the inside, that you understand that the behavior is just the top that people see, that suddenly you're different somehow. But if you get motivated, truly motivated by understanding that you want to change from the inside, which means on the subconscious level, the identity of who you are truly is suddenly a different person. And then once you realize that and change it from the inside, we don't even need to talk about whether it's sustainable. It's just new you. So that is the way you are right now. And because it's on the subconscious level, you now are acting as the new person who does these things automatically, and you don't have to think about them anymore. But to get to that, that's the work that people have to do if they, want a certain goal, which is change to, whatever they choose that they want to change, is to do all this work that is very internal, it's very deep, and takes time. It takes time, few weeks maybe, or few months. But once we get to the point that change happens and the shift happens inside, then there is no more thinking about, is it sustainable? Well, yeah, because suddenly that's your new wiring in the brain.
Well, thank you for that.
So,
I just, change is something that is inevitable. And I think just the one commonality, I love talking about change because it affected something everyone listening here today can relate to in the world. It was during the pandemic, during COVID, when we all experienced change together. As hard as it was so much easier knowing that I'm not the only one. It made us feel better, more confident, and I think it placed our mindset in that, hey, okay, we're all going through this. We're all going to get through this, because if not, none of us are going to get through it. So wait, we all have to get through it. So that was my biggest example of change, changing jobs, changing careers. I mean, that was huge for so many people, and dealing with, priorities. It became, a lot of us may have been workaholics, work too much, focus on the work. And I just discussed this before with someone else about passion, being passionate about work, but taking work a little too seriously. And now it's time for a change and really decide what is most important. What is most important to me? Is it really this job? Wait, am I lacking in other areas? Am I not taking care of my family as much? Am I change? So, just go back to that time during the pandemic and rethink how you were, how you acted, your friends, your family. And you're here today listening, so you survived, and change is possible. I think just that proves it, right? Just remember, there's a saying out there, and I forget it. I'm not sure if you're a Winnie Pooh fan. My sister is, and I used to watch it when I was a kid. But it's about braveness. You're braver than you are, something than you are. But it's about change, and it's a great little quote. I got to find it. But yeah, I just like knowing that we're not alone with this conversation, and I feel like it's important for all of us. Yes.
Point. Yes, thanks, Jill, for pointing it out, because feeling that you're not alone is a huge help, right? And that's why, like I said, you can also read tons of self-help books, and you still don't make a progress because you can be alone with the book. And you don't see what you need to see because there's nobody else pointing out things that you may want to see.
Yeah.
And so even getting some help from other people, right, it helps to make the change process easier on yourself because you don't see the forest for the trees because you're in it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's another metaphor that says, you don't see the label of the jar when you're inside the jar. Yeah. And the only one who can read the label is the person on the outside.
Wow.
not the one in the inside. That's what I find lately with my clients, that there's so much that they're in the jar, and they really said, "I want to get out of the jar." I say, "Yeah, but I can see it." But you know what's hard too is it's sometimes really hard to explain what it
Yeah.
is because I can see it and they can't, right? And then having the trust to say, "Okay, well, give me the hand so I can
Yep.
pull you out of it."
Mm-hmm.
It's a very personal decision.
Wow.
And that helps people to say, okay, fine, if I can do it myself, I need somebody's help. And there's no shame about asking for help. And I think I was there many years ago because I thought, well, why can I do it by myself? I mean, I could do so many
Yeah.
things by myself. And then I realized, well, honestly, there are things that it is way better, way faster, way more
Mm-hmm.
efficient if you ask somebody else for help. And
Absolutely.
that works. I mean, whether it's in construction industry or dentistry. I mean, you really can't fix your own tooth, can you?
No,
You still
no.
have to go to your fellow
Yes,
dentist.
you need people.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
right? You need people to help you, and this is no different. I mean, this is the mental space, and then understanding. Let somebody help you understand. Okay, what is it that you really want? What is it that really needs to change? What is it really that you're looking for? Because again, people think, well, I want better job, I want more money. But at the end, we can dig deep. And they said, all I want is just to have peace of mind that I am safe,
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
you
thank you
know,
so
and
much.
and it could be two different things.
Well, Marketa, could you just share a little bit about your program and, the coaching process for someone out there who's ready to make this change?
Yeah, I'm happy to do so, of course. So I've developed this framework that is I call 5 hour shift method,
Mm-hmm.
and it's getting my clients through the process of 5 hours, which they stand for recognize who you are
Mm-hmm.
and learning more about yourself. Where are you today? Because even based on my experience and my client experience, we are constantly changing and evolving. And so we need to realize, okay, where are we today? Who are we? What do we want? Right. The second step would be release of what's no longer serving you. There has been so many things that we are holding on to and we are not willing to let go until we hit the wall and we have to let something go. And that's part of the self-discovery process as well. The third one would be reinvent yourself and realizing what do you want. Now, fourth one, you restart your life with changing all these little things that could be habits, recognizing the value systems and the belief system. All that stuff is this helps you to restart your life in the right way based on the goal we set for the client. And then reflect, because you're too busy to reflect and look back, but that's extremely important to see, okay, where did we start and how far we've come? And then what do we want to keep doing and what do we want to stop doing? And do we need to change a course of action? Because, little change can make a huge difference in the long run. So it's kind of the 5 hour shift method that I follow with my clients, although they don't even know that that's what we are doing. It's all kind of behind the scenes, but there is a process to, the work I do. So those ones who love flowcharts, mind maps, all these things, they know deep down there's a process for
Yes.
all these conversations and the homework and the hard work they're doing, because the clients have to do the work. They have to apply what we talk
Mm-hmm.
about. They have to follow in the steps of, these are the conversations we had, these are the
Yep.
discoveries we had. Now you have to take
Mm-hmm.
them. And when you go back to your work, you go back home, you go back to your sports team, whatever that is, you apply these changes every single day, and then you watch what happens. And then they can bring them back to our sessions and we can go through their learnings, observations, or difficulties they had or aha moments they had, because, I always say coaching happens not only during the session, but mostly in between those sessions, when the skills and knowledge they gain through these conversations gets applied.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here today and for enlightening so many, as always. Would you mind doing us a favor and sharing how we can
Thank you very
contact
much for having me.
Thank you. And how can we reach you?
Of course not. So everybody can reach me through my website. So let's state it's marketahuzel.com. There's a contact form, so feel free to send me an email. Of course, you can grab some free resources on the website as well. If you're interested, please go ahead and do so. They're readily available, some really good tools that you can start your transformation with right away. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, again, Marketa Huzel, last name Huzel. On LinkedIn, easy to find. I am the only one under that name. So looking forward to connecting with you guys.
Thank you. Always a pleasure having you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm as you can. And hopefully we'll be back again next week to share some more insight. Thank you again.
Thank you kindly. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey, high achiever. Do you often feel anxious, exhausted, guilty, or stuck in some ways? You may have tried a few things to make a change, but those just didn't work, and now you wonder how to get where you want to be? My name is Marketa, the founder of Kaleidoscope of Life Coaching. If you're serious about making a real change, book a free session through my website at marketahuzel.com. That's marketahuzel.com. You will thank yourself you did it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.